All right. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum-dum-dum.
Oh, this is
Uh-huh.
insane, Tom. This Australian trip that Meghan and Harry are taking in mid-April is literally the gift that keeps on giving. I
It's
I don't
getting
even
wilder and wilder. Paula,
yeah.
what are the latest updates? They're selling photographs of themselves,
Oh,
and now
this
you've
this
Paula
is
just sent me a thing right before we came on air saying that Harry is now getting in on the act as well and selling access to himself on his Australia tour. What the hell's going on?
okay. So Meghan's friend, who is world head of worldwide global membership of Soho House, is Marcus. Was like, hey, you should meet these podcasters. By the way, the podcasters have some dodgy backgrounds. Yes, one of the podcasters in Australia used to be Jackie O's best friend. So basically, she's 900. And the other girl is super dodgy. Anyway, they're promoting a girls' week, um, where for around 2,700 US dollars, you can stay in the Intercontinental Coogee Beach. It's a new hotel, so of course we now know where they're getting the money from because new hotels, when they open, always have a marketing budget. But for 2,700, you get a twin room with views of the ocean, lots of things paid for, including you get to be near Meghan while she eats and a group photo with her. And Tom, I don't know about you, but wow, is that worth it? It's all starting to sound really, really bizarre. Now, Ben, I don't know if you have this. Do you have the invite? I sent it to you. It's insane. And I think y'all need to see this. Ben, there we go. Thank you. No, wrong invite, Ben. That's the Harry invite. We're getting to that in a second. Sorry guys, Ben's a little kerfuffle. The time change really messed him up. Here, I'll show it to you on my damn phone. How about that?
No, he'll be there. He'll be there.
Until
He'll
Ben
get
gets
there.
it. But
Can I, while we wait for that to come up, let's just talk a bit about the hosts of this girls' weekend,
yeah, oh
okay?
wait,
Because
before we do, sweetheart, this is
yeah,
exactly what you're getting. You can get an early bird for this is in Australian dollars,
yeah.
2,699 per person twin share. So you'll still have to share with somebody. Or you can do a VIP experience, 3,199 per person twin share. So you still got to share. Seating at a table in front two rows for the gala dinner with Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. We're going to get into that in a minute. Group table photo with Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. Not even a solo photo. An exclusive VIP goodie bag. Pretty sure there's going to be some as ever crap in there. And premium ocean view hotel room twin share all weekend inclusions. So I have to show you guys this as well because this is insane right here. Can y'all see this? Because it is Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. She is basically trading on her title right now, something she's expressly told the Queen she wasn't going to do, and that her and Harry aren't really allowed to do, but Harry's also doing it. We'll see that in a hot minute. Tom, go ahead. What do you want to say about this? Because I am just gobsmacked.
When Paula is gobsmacked, you know that it's time to stop the presses. Um, okay, so I was actually a guest on a podcast this morning with an Australian host who was talking a lot about Jackie. So this is hosted by Jackie Henderson, is one of the hosts, and Jackie Henderson is a Australian radio host. Now, Australian radio is totally bonkers, and I hope that my Australian, are many Australian viewers of this channel will not be offended by me saying that. I've spent a little bit of time in Australia, and the radio, it's amazing, but it's very, I mean, Shock Jock doesn't even begin to cover it. And as I understand it, and again, I am prepared to be corrected by our fabulous Australian viewers. And Ben, if any of them want to correct me, put it up on the screen. Jackie O. Henderson, as she is named, has repeatedly faced criticism connected to debates around misogyny in the Australian media. Not directly focused on her so much, but the show, she is the host, or perhaps even was the host. I think the show is currently suspended due to an argument between her and the other host, who's called Kyle Sandilands. And they basically, the show is like incredibly misogynistic, and she signed like a massive deal. I think it was like a $10 million deal. And it's now exploded into this big story in the Australian media. And it's just like, I think when these things come up, and we were kind of talking about this in the Jordan thing, Paula, you kind of realize that to plan these kinds of trips and to plan these kinds of events, lots of people need to do a lot of due diligence, right? And it's all very easy when it goes public for people like us to go, well, hang on, this person's blah, 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 blah. And it can be hard to do it before. And that's why you need a big team of people. And that's why when you look at how this tour was put together, it really should make everybody very nervous. I mean, Jackie O, not quite clear why she's called Jackie O when she's actually called Jackie Henderson. But anyway,
I thought Gemma was best friends with Jackie O. Sorry, guys.
So Gemma and Jackie are the hosts. Gemma and Jackie are the hosts of the Girls' Weekend. But Jackie is a very famous radio DJ in Australia with this guy called Kyle Sandilands, who she is incidentally in the middle of a massive feud with. And they had a massive on-air argument that people kind of thought was staged, but it actually turned out was totally real. But they are like the biggest stars in Australian radio. I mean, I believe it was like a $10 million deal that they had. But sorry, if I'm just going to say one more thing. What I'm trying to say is that the kind of absolute chaotic amateurism of the organizing is what I wanted to highlight, Paula. And I said this about the Jordan trip. I said it looked unbelievably badly organized. Everybody was all over the place, were they here, were they there, wherever. And this, by Jackie's own description, seems to have been organized on the basis of a phone call from lovely Marcus when he was at Meghan's house. It's just completely bonkers. I mean, I'll find the actual quote of what she says. Okay, this is what Jackie says. Marcus messaged me because he was at Meghan's house. Marcus is also very close friends to Meghan and has been for many years, long before she was married, and they have a beautiful friendship too. I guess that's probably one of the things that I've always felt about Meghan. Whenever I've read stories, I've always felt protective that my friend Marcus is the bee's knees. He's the top-notch human, the first person to be there to check on you. I knew that Marcus wouldn't be so close or best friends with someone who wasn't also the same. And then she says, and this is actually, she hits the nail on the head here. She says, I'm thinking to myself, how is this possible? How is Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, this incredible woman, gone from Oprah to talking on the stage with just little odd me, Gemma, in Sydney? So, I mean, it's really mad. The whole thing is really mad. Sorry, you're right. So it must be Gemma who's friends with Marcus, not Jackie. Sorry.
Well, so here's the deal. This trip is so full of promos, okay? So they're doing it at the Hotel Intercontinental in Coogee, which is Coogee. And so that hotel has just opened. So it's good promo for the hotel. Now, meanwhile, Marcus ain't doing this just out of the goodness of his heart. There's a Soho House Australia opening sometime this year. So you're like, everyone, this is like a circle jerk of promotion. Okay. Yeah. Everyone is promoting. And all they really want is your cash. And it just kind of makes me nauseous, especially because at this day and age, Tom, it seems like Meghan doesn't hang out with anyone who doesn't have at least 9 figures in their bank account. And to go and just talk about, how to live your best life. I mean, what's she going to say? Marry an internationally famous and wealthy prince? I mean, you tell me, this is redonkulous. It's it's ridiculous. And then, so she's doing that. And of course, everyone's going to get some flour sprinkles and tea, I'm sure. But the thing is that her popularity in Australia right now is pretty much rock bottom. You know, their economics ain't doing so great either, number one. Number two, the last time she was there, she was overheard saying, "Oh, I can't believe I don't get paid for this," while she is there to shake hands and greet people. So, I mean, at least she's getting paid this time to do this. But it's nuts. You know, also on that last tour, there were a lot of other accusations about her being very angry and upset that she didn't get the full use of the governor's house, that there was allegations of a teacup and tea being thrown, possibly into the air, possibly at someone. And, you know, later during that same tour, this is in 2018, she was in Fiji and screamed at an aide so badly made the aide cry. So Australians, I mean, I've been talking to a lot of them, all right? Because again, I almost married one. I know a lot of them. I used to work for an Australian-owned company. And this is my favorite quote so far that they have given me. There have been many, many, but this is my favorite. It's from an Australian socialite. Okay. So let's be real clear about who we're talking to. And she says, imagine marrying into the British royal family and somehow ending up running a $2,699 self-help retreat at the Intercontinental in Coogee. In Coogee! 3 exclamation marks. That's not a glow up. That's a Groupon. Girl, I was like, wow, to my friend, you just slayed that. Ooh. And yes, I did include that quote and some others in my Substack article that I wrote quickly upon realizing that this trip was going down, because I am agog. Now, Tom, what do your royal sources say about William and Catherine's view? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but when they were told they could not be half in, half out, they are not supposed to use their titles for financial gain, correct?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, so
I mean,
look, the response from their side and their office is always the same. It's like, gosh, really? Is that happening? We're not even aware of it. We're not going to dignify it with a response. Um, the, I was speaking to one person today who I was just talking to about it, and they just said, well, it's just so pathetic, isn't it? And, I think that really sums it up. There is a potentially really serious issue, though, as you say, with the kind of events that they are now doing and this kind of very naked selling of access. Look, the royals have always, in one way or another, sold access, whether it was King Charles getting, but it wasn't quite so nakedly and crassly done. And I think that the Australians, in my experience, are tremendous bullshit detectors, and they really hate phonies and fakes and that kind of stuff. And
mhm.
I don't see this being a big success. I really don't see it. I mean, she'll sell the tickets, I'm sure. I would have thought probably 10% will be sold to journalists writing hit pieces about it. Like genuinely,
I would
I
love
think they will.
I would love a journalist to be in there and just write a diary of the entire event for me. In fact, I was thinking about calling up some Australian journalists, except for I don't have the $3,000 right now. But it's, again, looking for an apartment, still not going well. But it is very Sarah Fergie Ferguson
Mm,
selling access for cash. And the Royals, to be fair, at the very least, the Royals are like, we're selling it for charity. There's no charitable thing going on here. This is literally meet a duchess, get some cash.
yeah. it's it's really extraordinary, and I think the bigger picture is that what we're
Mm,
seeing here basically is the unwinding of Mexit. Do you know what I mean? The deal that was made
mhm.
when they left the royal family was very clear. And the Queen, so it was January 2020 that they announced they were leaving the royal family. The Queen said she wanted it sorted out in days, not weeks. They had a meeting, I think, as soon as almost the 20th of January, if memory serves correctly, at which was, called the Sandringham Summit, at which they were basically told all these options were laid out for them. You can do this, you can do that, you can do the other. And then they were basically told, actually, sorry, only option 5 is on the menu because we haven't got a printer. An amazing... So we've only printed out option 5, which is you leave the royal family and then never seen again, because we don't have a printer to print out options number 1 to 4. So sadly, it's option 5. And literally, that's how it went down. And they were kicked out of the royal family. And a statement was issued by the Queen, which said that we're very sad, we wish them the best, etc. And then on the additional notes underneath, it said, as they are no longer working roles, they will not use their HRH. And then Harry and Meghan issued a statement which said, we will always seek to uphold the values of Her Majesty. And that, to be fair, was their biggest mistake, because they put in black and white that they were going to uphold the values of Queen Elizabeth. And there's just no way that you can credibly argue that hosting a girls' weekend for $2,000 a head for paying customers is remotely in line with the values of Queen Elizabeth II. I mean, you cannot make that case.
No, and also let's just add in there, hosting a rich girls' weekend for that amount. I mean, it's just astounding to me. And also, how much is she getting paid for this? Because there's money involved, and clearly this is what I believe. Everyone out there, this is my true belief that Intercontinental is in some form paying for their airfare. Listen, I used to be in the travel industry, right? When a new hotel opened, they would pay for journalists or celebrities. They pay for first class tickets to come, to stay, to get press. Okay. That's what I believe is happening here. Now, the Intercontinental does get a budget from the Australian Tourism Board, or usually the hotels doing marketing with these big events get money from the tourism board as well. So yeah, in some ways, the trickle-down effect is the Australians are likely in some way paying for this boondoggle. Harry also has an event where this is also hilarious. Tom, I need to see your face.
Yes, sorry. So this was just announced this afternoon, right?
I need to see your face when I announce this, that he is speaking about mental health in the workplace, because our underemployed Duke knows so much about how hard it is to work. I mean, to be fair, he is on the board of Better Up, a mental health organization that he's got a no-show gig for like $1 million a year to not do anything. And also Better Up has been slammed online as not being a great place to work for if you want to be mindful of your own mental health. However, it's amazing. They're both doing these insane things. Meghan talking about how to live your better life when clearly we know how she got hers, marrying rich and a famous dude. And Harry going to talk about mental health at work when our guy don't work, or at least not on the regular. It's shocking to me that these people are not like putting 2 and 2 together and understanding that the rest of us don't see this.
But this is what I mean, Paula. It's like the organization is so chaotic now. I think that the whole Sussex operation is so chaotic. And I think there is obviously also a requirement to make money. So, obviously we're told that As Ever is making millions and blah, 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 blah. But if it is, then you have to wonder, it seems a little bit odd if you are making millions out of your jam company to sacrifice your reputation for a table photo and to openly, nakedly sell that table photo. I mean, look, there's a long tradition of politicians pocketing a check for their organization, or, you know, celebrities pocketing a check or what have you. It's a long and ignoble tradition. But the
Mm-hmm.
idea of doing it so openly on a website where it's like, hey guys, you can send your money via PayPal. I mean, it's so badly thought through. It's so damaging to their reputation. It's just the most extraordinary. If you'd said 6 years ago, when they were, you know, leaving the royal family and they were going to uplift communities and they were going to, you know, all these fine promises, and the royal family had been holding them
Mm-hmm.
back, much like Netflix is now holding them back, you know, and they were going to bring peace and love to all the world, and compassion. And honestly, like, if you'd said then, guys, in 6 years you're going to be selling your ass for 3,000 Australian dollars per photo, you know, I think they'd think twice about about leaving the royal family. Because the reality is, right, all they really needed to do in the royal family was just be patient, right? If they just sat back,
Mm-hmm.
taken a bit of like the humiliation of William ordering them around for a few years, by now they'd probably be about to move into Royal Lodge, you know. um that they'd have a lovely house, they'd have lots of staff, they'd have police security,
Yep.
they'd never have to sit in a traffic line in their life. Yep, they'd have to do what they were told. They would have to do what they were told, and they would be less important than William. But like, that's the deal of being the second son in a constitutional monarchy. Like, they
But
just
also,
were
aren't they
so
less?
impatient.
But aren't they also less important right now? I mean, they're even far more
Mm,
less important than they ever would have been. This is bonkers. And you know, it's just ironic. The whole thing is ironic. The whole thing smacks of cash grab, and it smacks of, frankly, Sarah Ferguson. I mean,
mm,
Megan has also tried to write children's books. Ooh, that did not go well.
mm,
Something on a
mm,
bench. But it's just it's absurd. And he's saying he's going down to also speak to Invictus, because of course there has to be some mention of charity in here, right? But I don't know how well Invictus is doing. Up on LinkedIn, there are ads for a head of marketing. Head of marketing
mm,
is a big ass deal for a
mm.
charity like Invictus. They don't
1 year
have
out.
one, and they're
Mm,
only offering £60,000, and it's London based, despite the fact that the next games are going to be in Birmingham, and also despite the fact that a British friend of mine who happens to live in the north of England was contacted, and her rates are around 120,000. So they're cheaping out. I
mm.
this is absurd, and I love you, Ben, for putting up the prices of how much that mental health seminar is going to be for Harry, because now look, you can get for almost 2,000 Australian dollars, you can have Harry tell you how to be better at work with your mental health.
But like,
Probably gonna mention something like breathe in, do box breathing.
the thing I find really mad
Mm.
as well about like them, like, literally saying we can help you with your workplace mental health, is that like, it is a matter of public record that when they were, weirdly, when they were on the way home from the Australian tour, when they were on the way home from that, Jason Knauf, who was Meghan's head of PR, sent a letter to Simon Case, who was William's CEO, effectively, saying,
Hmm.
what do I do? She is bullying people. I don't know what to do. Is there a procedure in place when a member of the royal family is bullying people? The Duchess always seems to have somebody in her sights. She's
Mm.
bullied Melissa Tuapti out of her job. She's, we don't know what to do about this
Right.
situation because she is bullying people. It's it was subsequently, Meghan and Harry tried to say that this was all engineered to get revenge on them for the Oprah interview, and that it was a smear, and they issued a statement saying it was a smear, and that Meghan was so upset about it, and it was, especially as someone who'd experienced bullying herself.
Mm.
But the point is that letter was sent 2 years before they left the royal family. So
Right.
it
Right.
doesn't, it has nothing to do with the Oprah interview. Yeah,
Well,
what
also,
is true, is that the staff wanted to get an alternative narrative out there before
mm,
the Oprah interview landed. That is true because they were afraid that they were going to be denigrated in the interview, which they
mm,
were. They were accused in the interview of sacrificing Meghan to
mm.
make Kate look good. And, they could see it coming. So
Well,
why
also
on earth
one of the
Harry thinks it's a good idea to talk about
mm,
workplace mental health when there's literally people's confidence being destroyed? Like there's a quote in Valentine's Low book where it says,
mm,
many young people were broken working for the couple.
mhm. Well, also they accused their staff members at the time. They said this is all just coming out because we were more popular than William and Catherine. And so William and Catherine were leaking this because they hated the fact that we were better than them. And you're just like, dude, and to be fair, again, at the time of the Australian visit, their popularity numbers were soaring. They were actually more popular than William and Catherine. After that visit, not so much because the Australians took note of her behavior and really were like, yeah, you don't get to treat the little people badly. You don't get to treat the people who work for you badly because they heard about it, they read about it in Australia as well. And, Rebecca English wrote about it in the Daily Mail when she was the one who actually saw Meghan make a staffer cry.
Yeah, and that police protection officer who was made cry left work for the couple shortly afterwards. That again is a matter of public record.
Mm,
And Jason Knauf, actually, it's interesting. So, because you're right, when they went to Australia, they were publicly, everything was still very under wraps, right? So
right.
people didn't know about the feud, they didn't know about the argument. Everybody was still desperately trying to make within the institution was desperately trying to make it work and figure out, could they hang on? And sure, there were lots of people who hated Meghan and weren't trying to make it work, but the general institutional vibe was let's try and cover this up and make it work, So, but Jason Knauf, I think he'd broken his collarbone or something, so he didn't go on the
Hmm.
tour. So they announced that Meghan was pregnant with Archie, as we would later discover. Obviously, made them incredibly popular, made the tour absolutely
Mm.
sensational in Australia, and it was incredibly well attended, and it was everything was marvelous. But Jason, who was back in London, having a week or two of distance from them, decided to write this absolutely pivotal letter to Simon Case. So it's funny how much Australia and that Australia tour has to do with this whole story, and it's going to be really really strange now with what happens. But I guess they need to. I don't know why they need to do it, but they obviously need the money. That's all I can conclude. And they probably want to try and market as ever there. She probably wants to try so they can go for free. I assume they've made the hotel cover their security or what have you, so they can go for free. And it's pretty demeaning though, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, here's the deal. She's already said she's not putting as ever products in Australia. But, I also think it has a lot
I
to
thought the
do.
whole point was that she was going international.
She says she is going international, but her people have also come out and said, no, no, we're not preparing to do Australia. Also has a lot to do with the fact that Australia has very strict laws about what can and cannot come
Right.
into the country when
Yeah.
it comes to food products. So there you go. But I just think I don't know. It's bonkers. And I know I keep saying that. It's because I can't. And also when you're talking, sometimes I'm like, oh, that's a good thing, but I can't write it down fast enough, Tom. Um, but I don't, you know, I, I think they just are attention addicts at this point. They want some cash. Listen, they're not going to get a ton of cash out of this, I don't think. You know what? He's
Mm.
now getting only 50 grand a speaking engagement now. Remember back in 2020, and there was talk of them getting $1 million in engagement or
Mm.
500,000. It's gone down year by year by year. So I can't believe they're making that much money off of it, but it is really more about a quasi-royal tour back to me, back to the attention, and it's just bizarre, and I know she said she's doing it as a favor for a friend, but I don't buy that. Favors come with cash too, whether it's your first class ticket, whether it's your gazillion-dollar room a night, or whether you're getting a cut of something. Who knows? Or even if she's not doing it for cash, the cash is being splayed out regardless. And he is definitely getting some cash for his speaking engagements. So it's just all kind of grubby. It just, you know what it is, Tom? They're no longer celebrities. They're no longer royal. We know this. They're no longer TV people. They're no longer celebrities. They're now at the bottom of the barrel of influencers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a long way from the $1 million private jet barefoot Google summit, isn't it? I mean,
Yes.
I think also the thing is, Paula, so why are they doing it? I do think that also a major reason why they're doing it is because it is something to do. And it's, it's something they've been asked to do, and someone's arranged it, and it keeps them busy and it keeps them occupied. Because there's this very interesting report in the Wall Street Journal today saying now, I don't want to run down my colleagues in the Wall Street Journal, but I have noticed that American mainstream media, when they write about Harry, often tend to put these very grand headlines all over the piece, and actually it's a bit of a nothing burger when you really get into it. But there was one quite interesting line, which it said that Harry was isolated and lonely. Isolated and adrift in Montecito. Didn't really have a great deal to do. I mean, it seemed to me to be very much lifted from a story in Page Six about a month ago that said that Harry was basically a kept man, that he didn't really have anything.
I'm interrupting. It was, and Page Six lifted it from my story last summer for News Nation, and then on my Substack, that Harry was lonely, didn't have anything to do, and spent much of his time hanging out with his security guards.
Yes.
Isn't it amazing how if you don't work for a major, like I do work for News Nation, which is major. We're growing, we're small, but it is constantly astounding to me how the major outlets will just lift and claim it as their own exclusive, or just wait a month or two and then say, we've got this new information. And you're like, same old, same old. What makes them lonelier now?
You ruined my punchline, Paula, because I was going to get to you. Because I'm a big fan.
Mad.
No, I'm sure you were. And Paula did this amazing story about how basically he was hanging out with his security guard, who's David. I can't remember his last name. Anyway, maybe I shouldn't say it. It's his security detail. But and that this security guard is like his mate, and it's like, oh my God, it's like so tragic, and it really reminds me of that thing of like the sort of rich women whose best friend becomes the housekeeper, and like that whole thing is it's really sad, and it's like, and so I have to say, if you, I wouldn't totally bother wasting a subscription on the WSJ if that's the only story you want to read. Obviously, there's lots of other great stuff to read in the Wall Street Journal, but I wouldn't necessarily. I would send your money to Paula Froelich, because that's where you'll get the news first.
Exactly.
Great. Well, we love you guys. Thank you so much for coming. We're going to leave it there. I think that's about it. We'll see you tomorrow, hopefully.
No, wait. Here's the deal, guys. What I really want you to do for me, I want you to drop in the comments once this is uploaded. Just drop in the comments. Would you spend that money to get a photo with Meghan or hear Harry talk about mental health? If you wouldn't spend that amount, how much would you spend? What would you do with the photo? I'm dying to know. There we go. Thanks, guys.
Goodbye.